Hello everybody, how are we doing? Of course, I hope you're keeping safe and I hope you're keeping sane. Very quickly before I go into the main subject of today's video, I want to touch upon something I generally touch upon most months, to be honest, and that is, for many, today, or at least in the upcoming days, will be payday for a lot of people. Yes, payday. A very dangerous one to navigate for those with a gambling addiction. So is your payday today, or is coming up in the next few days, then make sure your blocks are secure, as watertight as they can be. Obviously never 100% watertight, and yeah, try not to do what I used to do month after month after month and lose all my wages before the month has even really started. But anyway, like I say, hope you're all good. Today I want to talk about the different personas that we put on as gamblers. How we use these sort of fake facades as a defence mechanism against potential criticism or judgment from others, or at least perceived defence against criticism and judgment from others. Now the facade that I'm putting on today seems to be one of a ghost. It's very sunny here today. I'm in the conservatory and the sun is beaming off my ever receding head. Look at that, that's terrible, isn't it, eh? Anyway, back to the point. If we act honestly, openly and genuinely talk about the way we feel when we gamble, then we become very vulnerable. It is ultimately this vulnerability that enables us to recover. It's opening up, talking to people legitimately as yourself and as your own being, that enables us to address generally the root cause of our addiction, why we do it, and break the pattern and the cycle of behaviours that we have. It's only this openness and vulnerability which allows us to actually start to recover and to heal. However, whilst we're in the midst of a gambling addiction, it's probably the same, to be honest, for people in other addictions as well, but I'm speaking specifically about gambling in this instance, we do have a tendency to put on a facade. And funny enough, the two facades I often found myself adopting or putting up as a barrier were very much at opposite ends of the spectrum. I spoke about this a long time ago, about the sort of dissatisfaction with being in the middle of this perceived bell curve. But when we are putting up a facade and a persona as a defence against criticism and against judgment for our addiction, we tend to go to either end of a spectrum. Now let me explain. I would often use a perceived level of wealth or financial security or affluence as a defence against criticism from gambling. I made a video quite a while ago now, blimey, it's probably further long ago than I'd actually care to remember, but I made a video a while ago as to why I wore a Rolex as an addicted gambler. So I could have no money, but I've got this flashy watch on, and I'd be wearing designer clothes, and I get the irony of me wearing a Supreme t-shirt and having jewellery on is not lost on me. It just happens to be what I'm wearing, so forgive me. Yeah, so I would sort of make out this idea that, I was a business owner, which I technically, I suppose, was, and that I was doing really well for myself, had loads of money to throw around. I used to buy people drinks in the pub and all the rest of it just to keep up this image. And the reason this worked so well as a defence is you could then brush off your gambling losses. If someone sees you on the machine or whatever losing a couple of £100, you could brush it off as, oh, it doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine. Oh, don't worry about it. It's only money. There's plenty more where that came from. And you think that this is somehow, deflecting from the fact that actually that loss hurt. That was more money than you should have lost, or you could realistically justify or afford to lose in your own mind. But to others, you could go, it doesn't matter. It's only a couple of £100. What does it matter? Plenty more. Like I say, plenty more where that came from. And this worked in your mind as a sort of a way of deflecting. But like I say, it works the other way as well. The other end of the spectrum, and I've done this. I certainly know of people who have a problem with gambling, and they, in a personal, one-to-one context, will admit and concede to having lost control of their gambling. But their general public persona, when they're gambling or when they're talking about their losses, isn't, I've got loads of money, I can afford to throw it away. It's the other end. It's the, I'm basically a degenerate, I'm a loser, I'm, an addict, it's whatever, I'm self-destructing. Maybe not so much in terms of seeking pity or seeking sympathy for their position or even wanting help, but again, it's used as a deflectionary tactic. It's diverting attention away from the issue. It's almost over accepting your problem with a view to people go writing off and just go, well, it's just Phil. That's what he does. It's fine. Don't worry. Move on. Nothing to see here. If we are true to ourselves and we sit in the middle of these two fake personas, which, let's face it, the vast majority of us do, although maybe at times of our lives will be one close to one end or the other. If we are generally speaking somewhere in the middle, then we have to be true to ourselves. We have to be open and honest as ourselves and our own identity. And then we have to open up about the impact that gambling and gambling losses, although I've spoken before, this isn't a solely financial problem, are actually having on our lives and the negative implications of our behaviours. The truth of the matter is that, like I say, that is not only the first step to resolution, or the first step in recovery is being true and being honest and being open, but also people don't buy these false exteriors anyway. The fact that I used to wear designer clothes and wear Rolex and stuff and pretend I had loads of money didn't sit with the fact that I was driving a 10-year-old Ford Focus and lived in a rented 2-bedroom house. It doesn't take much digging to see through the persona. And also, when people actively see you gambling, they will see your mannerisms. They will see the way you do respond, even if you're not doing it deliberately, outwardly to put on a performance. Everyone reacts subconsciously in ways when they are in the midst of an addiction. I could assume it's probably the same as an alcoholic who's trying to hide the fact they have a problem, but everyone around them can see they have a problem. They make that judgment, and actually people generally have more respect for you if you are open and honest. It's amazing. When I spoke to I've spoken before about how I spoke to everyone who would listen when I got into recovery, but when I spoke to even people in the periphery of my life, people who drink, other regulars in my local pub, and people I used to speak to and stuff, when I did have the opportunity to speak to them about my gambling problem, most of them were like, yeah, I know. We know you had a problem. Everyone knows you've got a problem. You are Phil the gambler. They didn't see you as necessarily as a down and out degenerate, and they certainly didn't see you as this, affluent businessman who can afford to throw money around. They saw you as you. So all the facades, all the pretending was a complete waste of time anyway. You were kind of more than doing it for other people. I think sometimes you do it for yourself because it allows you to justify your behaviour, it allows you to forgive yourself more easily, and it allows you to perpetuate the addiction. So that's kind of that, really. I just sort of wanted to see if anyone else has done this and has sort of put on a caricature or a persona or a front as a means of deflecting criticism. Like I say, it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work because I've seen other people doing it. I've seen other people pretending they're something they're not in order to not excuse their behaviour, but to deflect any criticism of their behaviour. It doesn't work. We can all see what's happening. People could see the hole I was in myself and the fact that I had no control. But I preferred to carry on pretending because that allowed me to take the path of least resistance and continuing living my life without having to really address the problem. And if you take anything away from this video, it's that you have to be honest, not only with those around you but with yourself. You have to be true to the person you are and talk as you, not as you the gambler, but as you, about your problems and your addictions before recovery can really start to be a thing, because otherwise you will find it very, very easy just to put that mask back on and continue doing what you've always done. I hope that's interesting, useful, helpful. If you're not subscribed, I'm going to do the YouTuber thing and say 70% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so just hit the button. It is appreciated. But for everyone else, thank you as always for your support. Have a great weekend. like I say, if you are getting paid, then put those blocks in place. Make sure your money is secure and you don't have that gut-wrenching feeling tomorrow morning when you wake up. Stay safe, stay sane, all the best.